Okay, so these are just two examples of things you might see with Khan Academy. You'll definitely either need to use the whiteboard on your computer or you'll use a scratch paper with notes. And remember, with a calculator, there's tons of apps from your phone. Your phone usually has a calculator right at the beginning, and then there's lots of places on the computer and on the internet to go for a calculator that works. Okay, so the tricky thing about Khan Academy is that they're not putting it in this nice form that we usually have. So we need ax squared, our standard form, plus bx plus c equals 0. So we have to get everything to one side. So this 9x is hanging out over here, which it usually never does, but we've got to make things interesting. So we've got to get it to the other side. So to do that, we'll subtract from both sides. Now the tricky thing is that makes 0 over here, which is fine, but none of these are like terms. This has an x squared, this is just a constant or just a number, and this is an x. So I'm going to squeeze this 9x in the middle because that's the way I want it. I want my x term in the middle. So from this, I'm going to write 10x squareds, and then my x's come, and my x is a negative 9x because I had to flip it to get it to the other side. And then my constant, or my thing without an x, or an x squared, so negative 6. And if you look, 9x take away 9x is 0. So that's what's on my right side. So now I'm ready for the quadratic formula. Let's write it again. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So again, so for this one, a is equal to 10. B is equal to, it's the number in front of x, that negative comes with it. And my c is also negative. Okay. So let's use the same colors we used for the notes, just for continuity. So my A is orange, my B is red. A, orange, A, B is red, B, sorry, I'll stop. And my C is blue. C is just a one-timer up in that quadratic formula. There are, I'm sure, videos on how the quadratic formula is derived. It's pretty cool. It's all algebra. It's all stuff you already know how to manipulate. So they literally take this equation and they solve for x, and they've got to do it pretty tricky. We've actually never talked about the technique that they use, or that mathematicians use to do that, but you'll learn it in Algebra 3-4, and you can still kind of follow along, and it makes sense to get to here. It's really cool. Okay, so I started out with just parentheses, x equals negative plus or minus the square root of squared minus 4, 1, 2, all over 2. Okay, let's drop it in, everybody. Okay, so B is red, negative 9. B squared. Then I've got A, C all over 2A. So A shows up there twice, and that's my C, negative 6. So if you look at your answers, you can already see how this is shaping up. Like, there's our 9, and this is going to be 20, so it's probably this one right here. But we're going to do the most, and we're going to double check, okay? So I go from here to 3 numbers, and they keep the square root, so I'm going to teach you how to square root. So a negative makes a positive. Plus or minus, they've got the plus or minus square root. If it's 321, ladies and gentlemen, we're good. Okay, so negative 9 squared. Whoops, that was not a squared. Minus 4 AC, so 10 negative 6. And there's ways, depending on the calculator that you have, you might need to do negative 9 times negative 9, and then you might need to say 81 minus, and then figuring this out, which would actually be a positive because you're multiplying two numbers. I see that 4 times 10 is 40, times 6 is 240. So that's what I would get, is 321. Oh, look. Look, if it isn't one of the answers. And you gotta look really quick, guys, because this can sometimes simplify, but then they'd all have to simplify. Okay, so that's our first one. All right, let's do our second one. So this one, this x squared is over here, so you've got to flip it to the other side and then combine like terms. So to get rid of this, we're going to add it to both sides. Okay, so I like my x squareds first. So negative 9x squared plus 6x squared. So again, if we want to write ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Okay, so negative 9 plus 6 is negative 3. And then my x's come next. So I've got a positive 4x's. And then my 1's. So we're just rearranging, and we're flipping, we're combining like terms. We're doing a lot, guys. And this 10 is a positive 10. There's nothing in front of it. Positivity is assumed. Equals 6x squared, take away 6x squared is 0. Okay. I'm not going to rewrite the equation again. You can if it helps you. I'll sing it to you if you want. Okay. So x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4. So I'm just pulling things, right? A, C, all over 2A. All right, let's get down to it. We've got x equals, this just makes it negative, plus or minus the square root. I can make that smaller, all over 2 times a negative 3 is a negative 6. Okay, I think we're gonna have to do some fun stuff with square roots, guys. Are you excited? All right, so 4 squared minus 4, negative 3, 110. So I'm just doing what's under the square root. I don't have that square root sign, right? Just doing what's in that square root. I'm ignoring the square root sign. So the square root sign symbol carries. So 136. Okay. Well, here's the deal, guys. If I just play this game with 4 over 6, both of those can divide by 2. So I can simplify this fraction by 2 over 3. So it's probably going to be this one. But I need to reduce this negative 136. The square root of 136. So let's talk about that for a minute. So that must mean that there's a perfect square in here. And perfect squares are like 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared, 4 squared, 5 squared, 6 squared. Okay, we're gonna stop there. So that would be 1, 4, 9, 4 times 4 is 16, 25, or 36. all right? And so I, not knowing, is I'm just going to divide it by 4. I'm really going to take it by the first one. You can always pull out a 1, but that doesn't change anything. So what if I pull out a 4? So what's 136 divided by 4? Oh, sorry, that was times. 136 divided by 4. It's 34, and if you look at this, we're left with a 34. So what that looks like is this can be shown as 2 times 2, which is 4, times 34. So try that again. So it means the same thing. So 2 times 34 is 136. So you can pull out one of these 2's because that's what a square root is. So we can see it 2 ways. So you might see it, you can pull out, it has to have 2 2's, so we can pull one out. It's 34. Or we can see this as 4 times 34. This is probably how I would teach it. 4 times 34, and the square root of 4 is a perfect square, which is 2. So you can pull that out, and you have this left. It's a little bit of a nightmare, but it is, you know, this is arithmetic. It's not algebra. And it's another reason why you all need to know your multiplication facts, which is a good thing that you can practice with a little brother or sister or get an app. So this is this simplified. And if you want more practice on this, this is another time when kids hate math, but there's lots of Khan Academy activities for simplifying radicals. In fact, we skipped most of it because the algebra's more important. Okay, so I'm gonna replace that with 136 up here. So x equals -4 plus or minus 2 square root of 136 all over -6. And so this negative divided by negative is well, we can't really change that yet because we don't know. So if you look at all these numbers pulled out front, they're all divisible by 2, okay? So then we can reduce the fraction. It's like reducing one big fraction. It's just one big mess though. So divided by 2 is a -2 plus or minus. This should be 1, but a 1 is understood. So we can put a 1 there. Oh, it doesn't matter. Oh, and this is not 136, sorry. So 34 all over, and then a negative, and then again, we're dividing everything by 2. So that's what this is, which is D. All right, those are 2 to help you get started. Woo! Good luck. Come see me in office hours if you have questions.